Thank you so much for joining me for part one of the COVID-19 video series. This part we're going to be talking about the vaccine. We're going to talk about how it works in the body. We're going to talk about some of the side effects that you might feel after you go get the vaccine. And we're going to talk about my personal experience with the vaccine and how it's affected me, both health-wise and mentally. The way that the COVID-19 vaccine works is pretty similar to the way a lot of vaccines work. Essentially what happens when you get the shot is a few proteins that look a whole lot like those that are on the outside of the COVID-19 virus are injected into the body. These proteins, which as far as you and I are concerned, are kind of like the hair of the cell, just little proteins. They don't do the job, but they are very recognizable. So essentially what happens is those little proteins act as a wanted poster for your immune system. Your immune system is what fights off all the germs that enter your body, all the foreign contaminants, and COVID-19 is one of those. So essentially what the vaccine is doing is showing a wanted poster of the COVID-19 vaccine to your immune cells and saying, hey, look out for this guy. He is all around town. Everybody's catching this hot new virus, and you need to watch out for this guy. Once they get these instructions, your immune cells are going to ball them up, throw them in the fire, and dissolve those proteins because they don't need those laying around in the cell. They're going to train a special COVID-19 task force, some special immune cells that are designed specifically to fight off COVID-19. That way, if and when you do come into contact with COVID-19 in the environment, whether it be from a coworker, from somebody at the grocery store, from somebody in your own home, any of these, your body will immediately recognize this COVID-19 virus and say, hey, we have a task force, we have immune cells just for that. They'll send them after it, and that will make it much, much less likely to make you sick. The COVID-19 vaccines, all of them that are available right now, are all very, very good at doing what they're supposed to do. They strengthen your immune system and train it to fight COVID-19, which really ends up resulting in three different results. Number one, it makes you less likely to actually get COVID. It'll be better at fighting off the disease, and the disease won't be able to take hold in your body. Number two is that you're going to be a whole lot less likely to transmit that disease to somebody you love because it's going to live for such a short amount of time in your body that you'll have less of a chance to do so. Finally, number three is it makes it so that even if that disease does manage to take control in your body and you do end up getting sick, your immune system will be better prepared to fight it off more effectively, which means you're not going to get as sick. So you're less likely to be hospitalized, and you're more likely to come out with no lingering side effects. A lot of people are really worried about side effects from the vaccine. So they're worried that the vaccines were rushed and that they weren't tested properly, and that's going to make you have a lot of really bad negative side effects from the vaccine. The truth of the matter is that the vaccine came out pretty quickly because the people who were making it got a whole lot of funding pretty quickly. That's not something that normally happens in public health. As someone who is in the field of public health, I know that funding tends to come to us pretty slowly. And that means that things like vaccines tend to come out pretty slowly. There's fewer researchers working on them because there's fewer researchers that are able to get paid. The COVID-19 pandemic is unique because it had such a powerful impact on society that everyone threw money at it very quickly, which meant that they were able to pay a whole lot more people, which is why it came out so much quicker than any other vaccine that you might be familiar with. This does not mean they did not go through all of the correct hoops and all of the correct procedures that they needed to go through to make sure that it was safe. It just means that they were able to do so a little bit quicker because there was more people who were able to work on it. Some of the side effects that you can expect to experience when you go get your vaccine are pretty much typical run-of-the-mill side effects you get from any vaccine, any shot that you get. So you might get a little bit of redness and a little bit of swelling in the area. You might feel a little bit fatigued the next day. You might take off that day from work just because you're not feeling your very best. Some of us might get a little bit more severe side effects if you tend to get side effects from shots or medicines. You might feel a little bit more run down the next day, next couple of days even. The side effects that most people are concerned about are the more severe side effects, like blood clotting and things like that. The good news that I can tell you about those is that they are exceedingly rare. Most of us who go to get the vaccine do not even need to worry about those. The most that any of us are going to feel is a little bit of discomfort, a little bit of irritation at the injection site, and maybe a little bit of tiredness the next day. But those side effects that are so severe are very rare. Almost no one is going to get them. But because they are so sensational and so terrifying, they are the things that people talk about on the news, and those are the things that people have to address in studies, and that's why they've been getting so much press, is because it's exciting, it's sensational, and people are going to share that on Facebook and all that jazz. That doesn't make them common. It doesn't make it often that that's going to be a problem. It just means people are going to talk about it more. So that's a little bit on that subject. A little bit about my own personal experience with the vaccine. I received the Pfizer vaccine as soon as I possibly could. I signed up the minute my group was announced. I got it through the health department at no charge. It was easy peasy. I sat in a drive-through line, got the shot. It was great. The first dose, I had absolutely no side effects. Normally, I do get pretty bad skin reactions to vaccines just because I have sensitive skin and that's how it works. So usually I'll have a lot of redness. But with the first dose of Pfizer, I didn't have any. And I was surprised by that, and it didn't really hurt. I felt great, and all was well. The second dose, it wasn't as good. It wasn't completely symptom-free. After I had the second dose, I was a little bit fatigued for, I would say, 2 or 3 days, and the lymph nodes in my underarms on the left-hand side of my body, which is where I got the vaccine, was my left arm, they were a little bit swollen. That just means that my immune system was doing its job and manufacturing a whole lot of little special forces to take down COVID, and it was working a little hard, so that was to be expected. It was a little bit uncomfortable, but again, it cleared up within 2 or 3 days, and I have been feeling fine since. So don't let that put you off. While we can't make you go get your vaccine, I personally, as a person and as a health professional, highly recommend that you go get it. It has taken such a load off my shoulders of worry. I've been so worried about getting COVID, and I've been so worried about my loved ones getting COVID, especially my grandparents and my family members who are immunocompromised. And the fact that they can all have a little bit of added safety is such a weight off of my shoulders, and I've been so comforted by the COVID vaccine, and highly recommend it to anybody. Thank you so much for joining me for part 1 of the COVID-19 guidelines video series. I'll see you in part 2, where we're going to talk a little bit about masks and a little bit about gloves. Thank you so much.